Hi, I am Jenny Anderson. I have been dabbling in interviews. I have a page on Instagram about the people and the culture behind fighting called The First Fight. I've interviewed a lot of different fighters over the years about their first fight story. I like hearing about the people behind the fighters. I care about the people because I myself have done it. My husband is a fighter. My husband's Corey Anderson. And to tell you the truth, I hate short form content. I can't stand doing it. So I thought, why don't we do some more long form? I would love to yap more about fighting, and if anyone's interested in listening, I'm here. I just want to be what I am missing from the industry, and I would like some media from a perspective of someone that understands it behind the scenes, lives it, respects it in the way it deserves to be respected, and that's what I'm here for, because a lot of times it's hard to take certain criticisms from MMA journalists that they don't do it, they haven't lived it, and I'm here to offer that, a fresh perspective from someone that lives the life, walks the walk, and is respectful of the sport and the people who do it. It deserves respect, and I love it. I don't have this disdain for it that I think a lot of journalists do. So here's a little more long form content. I'm not used to doing it, so bear with me, but I'm trying to be more like my husband where he just jumps right in. So we're going to do it. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to talk a little bit about UFC 327 in Miami. Now, I love the card in Miami. Every year, it's always a really fun card, really good energy. This year is a solid card. I would say it doesn't have a ton of star power, but I like it. I think it's a good card. The main event, Yuri Prochazka and Ulberg, is fun. He gets the golden ticket, I swear. He gets a lot of chances to be successful because he's entertaining and has a whole samurai shtick. He's a very unique personality. He's good, but I'm critical of his technical prowess, I would say. Not fundamentally very sound. Ulberg, although I just don't even think is on that level. That's the thing about the light heavyweight division. I know from experience, it's really easy to jump up in the ranks, and it's like rock, paper, scissors. You never know who's going to win. So they always have that knockout power in their back pocket. I'm going to pick Yuri in this fight. I just think he's so chaotic. Yuri via insanity is how I'm going to pick this fight. Ulberg's an interesting style. I believe he's from City Kickboxing, but he's kind of not very entertaining in my opinion. Up next, the co-main, Blades versus Hokit. This is something the UFC does. I think they're trying to bring up Hokit to use Curtis as a stepping stone. They did this to my husband with Johnny Walker. Have someone really established in the division who might not be the most exciting, but good, solid, and they want to use them to propel this flashy, shiny, entertaining star. And I think they're trying to do that with Hokit, who is super corny, not a fan. I think everyone agrees to it. I don't think anyone likes him, but maybe he gets clicks. That's what they want. He's just never fought anyone of even close to the caliber of Curtis. And Curtis is a phenomenal wrestler. So stylistically, it's just not that good for Hokit. So I'm going to pick Curtis Blades. I hope he crushes him. I don't like when the UFC does this. It's disrespectful. And I think everyone's looking forward to seeing Curtis Blades win. I'm not going to go through every single fight, but I'm just going to go through the ones that interest me, to be honest. It's Cubs Swanson's last fight. Oh, they have Reyes and Walker fighting. Another light heavyweight bout. I wanted them to do this fight. I wanted them to match them up. They're both had rough careers, I would say. They both were touted as the next big thing at one point in time. Reyes, I just think, has more potential. I guess they're both super athletic, so I can't say more athleticism, but I do think Reyes is a higher caliber fighter. I think Johnny Walker has very poor fight IQ. I think Reyes is going to finish him, to be honest. I think one of the most interesting fights that I see on the card is Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico, Bellator. Vet fight. I like this fight. I'm going with Pitbull because he's such a veteran. He, I think, has good fight IQ. Aaron Pico is such, it's like fireworks anytime he fights. And I made a video on him before, and I just think he is so talented. He is a good striker. But it's not just his over-aggression. He approaches striking like he does wrestling. I think the pressure and the pace. He doesn't vary his pressure. So pressure becomes a pattern. And if you're approaching from outside range to inside range, which is a very dangerous threshold to cross, if you approach it at the same pressure every time, you're going to get caught. They're going to read you. And that's what happened in his last fight. Unfortunately, it was a devastating knockout. I do not want to see him get knocked out again. I hope he was able to unlearn that, but I think that's a hard thing to unlearn. And I pray that he doesn't get knocked out like that, but I am going to pick Pitbull. And the thing is with this fight, if Pico can't beat Pitbull, he's got a lot to lose. He's going to have to go packing because if he can't beat Pitbull, he definitely can't beat the top guys in his division. And I think a lot of these fights actually have a lot of high stakes. I think the losers in these fights are going to have to start all over in a lot of ways. Kevin Holland, Randy Brown is interesting. Both super lanky. I believe it's at middleweight. Middleweights. I don't know who I'm going to pick. Holland's hard to pick. They both are up and down. I think I'm going to go with Holland. I think he'll get a finish. That's an interesting fight. And then the last fight I think is interesting is Kelvin Gastelum and Luque. They're both kind of on the downswings of their career. Luque, they're both fighters that I think people had really big plans for and didn't kind of live up to the expectations. Kelvin Gastelum can be phenomenal. He's just very inconsistent. I do think, however, he will win this fight. I like him to win this fight. He's good. He's very good. Overall, I think it's a fun night of fights. Tatiana Suarez is fighting again. It's a lot of good fights. I think it'll be a fun night. Hopefully, it'll be as fun as UFC Seattle was a couple weeks ago. That was a phenomenal weekend of fights. I just felt re-energized by it. Also, there's PFL Chicago, and my husband and I are actually going. He's going to be doing commentary for some of the fights. Pettis McKee is the main event. A storyline that's really interesting about this is Sergio Pettis' first fight since his mentor and longtime coach Duke Roufus died this past October. Suddenly, they said Duke was my first coach. I trained with Sergio at Roufus Sport. They were very close. He brought him up in the sport, and he was a very passionate coach. And his death was very unexpected. The PFL did something really cool. I don't know if you saw it on their social media, but they surprised Sergio with his fight shorts with Duke's name on the back, and I think they're tie shorts, which is really cool, and Sergio got a bit emotional about it. It was just a really good, thoughtful touch by the PFL. I love the human interest aspect that any promotion does, I think is huge. I love Embedded. I love Anatomy of a Fighter. Will Harris works with the PFL. Hopefully we'll be working with them more. I think that's what interests me. That's what I like to report on is more of a human interest side of fighting. Seeing the fighters as people with stories. I think that's what is appealing to people, especially people that aren't in fighting. If they can see the human side of it, they will have a lot more interest and attachment to the fighters. So Duke was a big personality. He, like I said, was my first coach. I have a funny little story about my first fight with him. We were backstage waiting to be called to go fight. We were in the staging area on deck, and everyone was very nervous. It was palpable. And Duke knew that I had played sports my whole life, and I felt like everyone was nervous, including myself. And I think they're nervous about me because I'm a girl, and it was my first fight, and I don't really come off super aggressive. So he faces me and he has this big booming voice that's kind of tailor-made for being in someone's corner. And he says to me, "Jenny, this isn't a sport, it's a fucking fight." And I was like, point taken. It doesn't feel like a sport to me, but And the rest is history. It was, he didn't pull any punches, and it was one of those moments I'll never forget. Kind of was like equivalent to like slapping someone across the face, like, wake up, this is real, time to go. And he will be missed, and it was, I think, a nice touch that the PFL did that for Sergio. I think he'll do phenomenal. Jordan Newman's fighting, Rafael Stotts, another bantamweight, all trained at Rufus Sport as well. So it's a really like Milwaukee regional heavy card, which is really smart by the PFL to do. They did that with Dalton Rasta. It's showing like a knowledge of the industry, and it's promotion 101. You sell tickets by putting local guys on the shows, and I think they see that. I think they're in good hands with John Martin. They're trying to get that vibe that they have over in Europe here in the States. And so far, so good. I think they had a good card the other week in Pittsburgh. Some awesome finishes. It was just a great weekend of fights all around, I would say. So I'm looking forward to PFL Chicago. I will be there in person. So it'll be nice to see in person how things have changed, too, since John Martin's been in charge. So looking forward to that. Watch my husband, Corey, do the commentary on a couple fights. And I think it'll be a fun weekend of fights. So I'll be doing this weekly recaps, not always just like X's and O's recapping fights. Like I said, I like covering the human interest side of fighting. And I want to give a perspective from somebody who truly loves and respects the sport. And I have criticisms. I'm a realist. But I'm not a doomer. So you're not going to get that here. So if you enjoy it, keep watching, like, subscribe. You can follow my Instagram page at The First Fight if you want to see more of this type of content. And thanks for listening.